I was never really a big fan of using dating apps, but a few years ago, I happened to catch myself on a dating app. I was looking for a guy to hopefully settle down with because I was in college, and which the guys that were in my college were always bad guys, and I was a good girl, so I did not want to be in a toxic or a bad relationship because of the guy I was dating. So I got on this dating website and saw a cute guy. The guy was in my city and he looked innocent from his profile. As I showed him I was interested in the guy, after an hour, I got a notification from my phone, which was the guy. He had texted me and asked if I would be down to meet in person at a local coffee shop, just to get to know each other. I thought this was a little strange, but then agreed because we'd be in public, so I would hope nothing bad would happen to me. After that, me and Adam, which was the guy's name, we then discussed the details of our first date, I guess you could say, which was going to be at the coffee shop. After getting that figured out, I then put my phone away and went to my parents' house to make sure we did not have nothing planned tomorrow because I would be on a date with Adam. After talking to my parents, and my parents told me I had nothing planned, they wanted to know more about Adam. I told my parents and they said to be careful and to let them know if I needed anything. I then went up to my room to clean my room because it was kind of messy. I had clothes all thrown on the floor and my bed was not made or any of that. I then cleaned my room and made my bed. After I was done with that, I then went to the kitchen to get something to eat before I would go back to my room to try and find an outfit for my tomorrow's date. I began to look through my closet for a date outfit, but I could not find anything as I kept looking for an hour until I realized that I would need to go to the store to pick out an outfit because I was running short on clothes and did not have much as I used to have. After getting in my car and arriving to a clothes store, I then looked through the women's section and looked for something I could wear for tomorrow's date with Adam at the coffee shop. I then found an outfit and ended up trying the outfit, and I liked how it looked on me. I then went to the front desk and paid for this outfit, so I could wash this outfit and wear it for tomorrow. I always would wash my clothes. I would buy because I never liked the feeling of people trying on my clothes, and I wanted to wash off all the dirt so I could wear the outfit I picked out and not smell bad. I then left and went back to my parents' house to show them my outfit that I picked out and get their opinion on it. After showing my parents my date outfit, they actually liked it and said I should wear that for tomorrow. I then began to wash my outfit and get ready for bed, as I would have to wait for my outfit to be washed so I could switch over to the dryer mode, so it would be done in the morning. After leaving my outfit to dry overnight, I then went to sleep. The next morning, I then could see that our day would be an hour because I had overslept and I woke up at 3 p.m., which I could see that Adam was texting my phone and make sure we were still going on our coffee date. I then told him yeah, and I would be there here soon. After I started to get ready for our date, I then put on my outfit and drove to our local coffee shop we had in our downtown area. Our downtown area was nice. We had skyscrapers and nice buildings that looked brand new, and a lot of people that would be walking in our downtown area. After I made it to the coffee shop, I then texted Adam, let him know I was here, and I was just in my car. After I let Adam know that I was here, I was just in my car parked. I then walked in the coffee shop and could see that Adam was sitting there. I then sat at the table across from Adam, and he looked at me. We both made eye contact, and we introduced ourselves as we waited for our waitress to come over and asked what we wanted to get to drink. I got a coffee, and that was called a vanilla bean, and Adam just ordered the same as me. Me and Adam began to start talking and having a good time on our first date. As me and Adam had similar interests in movies, Adam asked if I was busy later on. I said no. He started to ask if I want to go to the movies if I was down. Me and Adam then agreed on going to the movies later on. As I smiled and left, I then could see that Adam was right behind me, following me as he smiled. I then made it to my car and could see him walking behind me. I figured he was going to tell me something or his car was out there. I then got in my car and began to turn on my car as I could see Adam outside my window, just staring at me. I then rolled down my window and could see if everything was okay, which I regretted, as Adam said, yeah, everything's okay. Do you mind if I catch a ride with you? Because I had to Uber up here. I said sure, because I felt bad, and Adam then got in my car and looked at me and said, I am sorry for this. I said, what you mean? Adam then sprayed me with this sleeping spray as I woke up in the basement on a nasty dirty bed. I then was locked in a room and my phone was gone as I began to try to call 911. I then saw that this room that I was in was a trap. I was scared as I began to scream for help. I then saw the door open and there was Adam. He said, do I need anything? I was confused and said, let me out, as Adam shook his head saying he cannot do that. I then was ashamed of myself for letting Adam in my car because I would not be in this creepy place. And if I would have trusted my gut and just drove off, Adam then started telling me nobody would hear me scream and I would not be getting out of here, but that he would make sure that I am fed. Adam wanted to keep me caged up if I was some type of animal or something. I then told Adam, you don't have to do this. I have money. I have whatever you want, as long as you let me go. I won't tell nobody, I promise. Adam just shook his head as he said he would be back. Adam didn't lock the door, as I was in a room that was brick walls around me, and there was a window that was gated up with stone walls in front of it, which I could not escape. As I began to try to look for an escape exit, I then saw that there was a vent I could try to climb through and escape. I then removed the vent after kicking it at it for an hour. I then managed to move the vent and climb through it. As I was crawling through the vent to try to find a way to get out the place, I could hear loud footsteps and screaming as I could see Adam had kidnapped a lot of females. As I could see these females through the vent, these females were beaten and tortured. I could see some females that had no arms or legs, due to Adam cutting them off. As I heard a female screaming loud, saying please no. I could hear a chainsaw as I kept crawling and trying to be quiet. I could see Adam cutting this female leg up. I then crawled through the vents until I reached the exit. I then got out and ran to the door. The door was locked and it needed a key to get out. I then looked around and saw there was a window. As I saw a hammer on the table, I then bust the window and began to climb through it, after removing all the glass, so I did not cut myself up with the glass. I then made it out of there, and it was an abandoned outway, which these apartments and a sewer was nearby. Adam was keeping these females underground where nobody could hear them. I then ran and walked to a police station and told them everything that is happening. The police did not believe me and thought that I was a crazy person or a crackhead. As I began to try to tell the police officer I'm not lying, and Adam has like a mine shaft filled with females that are chained up. Police could see that I was not lying, and they then arrested Adam. He was charged with a lot of charges and was sent to prison. And for the females, they were rescued. Some of the females experienced hard trauma, and they had to go to the doctor for it because their brain was messed up from all of them being there with Adam locked up and awful things that Adam was doing to these females. Adam was a crazy person, has been doing this ever since he was a little boy. The police never knew and would get reports saying that people go missing and that they would hear people screaming when they would roam the sewers. I was just glad that I got out of there when I did, and I'm happy that I was able to save the females that were held hostage by Adam forever. I was just sad that I could not get to these females sooner because some of the females were legless and armless, as the females who had the most bad experience with Adam would then try to escape Adam. He would torture them with a chainsaw and punish the females for trying to leave him, because he wanted the females to stay with him forever and to never be found. Still to this day, I wonder what Adam would have done to me if I would have never found that vent that was buried. This happened to me a few years back when I was living with my parents. I was at a party one night with a group of friends I knew from college. I was a sophomore and my major was in nursing. Anyways, it was the weekend and I wanted to get out the house to take a break from studying. I happened to catch myself drinking with a few friends when I noticed this female sitting at the bar drinking. She caught my eye and I wanted to get to know her on a deeper level, not just a hookup. So I made my way over there to the female at the bar and introduced myself as a gentleman would do. Hey, I saw you from across the room and I thought I would come over and introduce myself. My name is David, and you are? As she replied with my name is Gracie. I thought that was a lovely name, and me and Gracie then began to talk for the rest of the party until we get closer to leave the party. I then told Gracie my goodbyes and how I'm about to leave. Do you need a ride or want me to call you Uber? So Gracie said she would call Uber. I then left with my friends who were not drunk, and I went back to my house to get some sleep and sleep this drunkenness off me. I then arrived to my house and went into my house to go upstairs to lay down and get some sleep. The next morning, I woke up and got out of bed. See that Gracie had texted me from last night. I was just drunk to reply, as I picked up my phone and began to reply. Hey, good morning, by the way. Just keep my message dry so she would know I just woke up. After that, I then went downstairs to make some breakfast to eat. After eating breakfast, I then got ready for school. I had human anatomy class today, and I could not miss it because this class was already confusing and hard to understand. As I got ready, I then drove to my school. After arriving to my school, I then went to my class. My teacher was late as I just scrolled on my phone while I waited for our lecture to start. After class was over, I then went and got something to eat, as I could see that Gracie had texted me an hour ago, asking if I had any plans this Wednesday, which was 2 days from now. As I replied to Gracie, texting her, letting her know that I was free this Wednesday, and what do you got in mind? Just trying to see what she wanted to do when the time comes. After ordering my food, I then went to my house and did my homework. And after finishing my homework, I then hopped on the game with my friends. We ended up playing Warzone for a few hours. As in the queues, I would be waiting for the game to start. I would get a text from Gracie, and I would reply. Me and Gracie were setting up our real date, and we were getting the information we needed, because I wanted to get to know her on a deeper level instead of just texting all day and not going out and doing fun things on the weekends. After setting up the day with Gracie, I then got back on the game and played until it was closer to bedtime because I had nursing hands-on class tomorrow, so I wanted to get enough sleep for that. The next morning I woke up as I could hear my alarm clock going off by my bed. The time was now at 6 a.m. and I would have school in 2 hours. As I then got up and studied a little bit before I would take a shower and do everything that needed to be done, like chores, shower, brushing my teeth, and you get the point. After I was done with all that, I then went downstairs to eat my breakfast. I would tell my parents goodbye and head out to my nursing class. After arriving to my class, I then did my nursing assignment, and I then left and went back home to study for my nursing exam we had in a week. As I would spend hours of studying, I would get on the game and play with my friends. While in queues, I would apply for a part-time job near me. After I got out the game, Gracie then said if we could get on the phone, and I was like sure because our day was tomorrow and I was a little nervous, so calling her would solve that. We didn't talk for a few hours until we both realized it was getting late and we both needed to get some sleep. As we both hung up, I then realized that me and Gracie were both losing track of time, as we were talking about everything and the day would be tomorrow. After waking up the next morning, I did my usual morning routine I would do, as me and Gracie's day would be later on when I would go pick her up from her parents' house. Until it was time for me and Gracie's date, I did a lot of nursing studying until it would be closer to time. I then started to get ready for the date to go pick up Gracie after a few hours. After I arrived to Gracie's house, I then saw her outside as I opened the door for her as a gentleman would do. We then went to our destination, and on our way to the restaurant, we talked the whole car ride. After arriving there, it was a really fancy place. It was cheap though, and the building had bright colorful lights going around the building, and statues of lions. As we made it in the building, we was then greeted by the restaurant. The restaurant was fancy. You could see paintings on the wall and cool designs. We then sat at the table and waited for our waitress to come and take our order. After me and Gracie ordered our drink and food, we then talked about, how a date would be. Gracie would smile and laugh at every joke I would make. Don't get me wrong, Gracie had a beautiful smile. Every time I would see her smile, my face would puff up into like a blow-up balloon and my cheeks would be red and all blushing. We both was doing. Me and Gracie were hitting it off, I figured. After eating, we then left and I drove back Gracie to her house, which was her parents' house. After making it back home, I then saw that Gracie was happy and she was texting me about how she had a good time and she would like to do it again, as I did too. The next morning, Gracie had texted me and asked if I was busy later on. As I said no, what's up? She started to talk about her parents are going to leave out of town today and if I wanted to stop by, I could see her. And she told me that she would let me know the time. As I said I was down, after a few hours went by, I then got the text from Gracie which was saying the coast was clear, I could come over. As I approached Gracie's house, she then came outside and walked me into the house, which the house was fancy and a rich type of person. It had an indoor hot tub. As Gracie started to show me her room, which was upstairs, I then followed her and we approached her room. Gracie then looked at me and leaned in and gave me a kiss. As I was in shock, but I started to kiss Gracie back as well. We then shut the door and I laid Gracie down on the bed. After that, I saw that Gracie was asleep. As I was still laying down, I then got thirsty. I wanted to get something to drink, a water bottle. I then went downstairs to the kitchen and could see that there was some water bottles that have not been opened. As I then picked up the water bottle and started to make my way upstairs. I then spilled my water bottle and I began to clean it up. As it was a water spill, I looked up and could see that Gracie was staring at me. She was dead-eye staring at me, not saying a word. I then told her I spilled my water as she kept looking for a couple more minutes before going back to bed. I then was a little weirded out and was debating on whether or not I wanted to stay or leave, because the stare Gracie was giving me was not a good stare. It was a stare as if I found something that was supposed to be hidden and she did not like it. As I got another water bottle, I then started to make my way upstairs as I could see this room that did not look good. I probably should have minded my own business, but as I went in the room, what I saw was terrifying. I then saw in the room with a trap door, but I then opened the door and could see inside the trap door there was nails poking out and there was blood on the nails. As I started to get the worst imagination of what if these people lock up people in this and the nails crushed our body together as you shut the trap door. I then got a weird feeling and went to get my shoes from upstairs and could see that Gracie was still asleep. As I began to leave the house, I then heard a knock at the door, which I ignored, and could see that Gracie was behind me as she said her dad was home. She didn't tell me to hide. As I hid, the man came into the house and asked, "Where is he?" Gracie took the man trying to find me, as I was hiding in the window curtains, as I could see that the man had a knife. I knew for a fact this was not Gracie's dad, and this was some type of sick setup. I then saw Gracie and the man walk upstairs. I then ran out the house and rushed to my car and drove off. As I made it out of there, I called the police, which the police did not find Gracie or the other man, because that was not their house. And still to this day, I get nightmares of what would have happened to me. If they would have found me, would I have been crushed to death by that trap door? I recently moved to my parents' house and got a place of my own. The apartment was only 30 minutes away from my parents' house, and it was a little outside my city, but the place was nice and really cheap, so I took the deal. I would only be 15 minutes away from my job, so moving to my parents' house had its cons and pros to it. I worked in a factory, and I had been working at this factory for almost 6 years now, so I knew how my job was done, and I had saved most of my money from working, and this would help me in the long run. When I got home from work, I happened to catch myself scrolling on this new dating app. I would see females and I would slide up, but most of the females were either not into relationships or just into bad things and was too worried about everyone, how they thought of them. I saw this one female profile and her profile sounded too good to be true, and instead of me texting her, I just gave her a like. I thought that this would be not a big deal because every female gets swiped right on, so I figured this just wouldn't be a big deal as I just swiped right on her picture and put my phone away. I was in the kitchen making some tacos when I got a message from this female who I swiped right on. She was texting me asking if I wanted to meet her in person. I texted back and said sure, as me and her both agreed on meeting at the football game we had this Friday coming up. It was a college football game that we had every Friday, and I was off work this day, so I figured this would work. After we texted for a bit, I began to get ready for bed because I had work the next day. The next morning, I then got ready for work, and on my lunch break, I would reply to her as she asked for my number because texting on this dating app was a bit too much. I never liked giving out my number, but I agreed and gave her my number. After work, I could see that she was texting me, trying to see if Friday was still on. I let her know that Friday would be the day that we would get to meet each other, and now I just got home from work. The next morning was Friday, and the football game was later on today. After a few hours of running some errands, I then was at the football game, standing in the stands waiting on Abby to arrive so we could see each other. Abby then texted me and said she was here. As I waited for Abby, I then told her, "Here I come." After I made my way down the stand stairs, I could see Abby standing there. She was real and not a fraud, as she had a big smile, and I smiled back. She then came over to me and gave me a hug. Me and Abby then enjoyed the football game and talked and had a good time with each other. When halftime came, I then asked Abby if she wanted anything from the concession stand. Abby said yeah, that she could pay me back, but a hot dog, nachos, and a drink would be fine. She then smiled at me and I smiled back. I then told her that's okay and I can pay for it, and just for you to save my spot. As I began to walk to the concession stand, I then could not help but to think how beautiful Abby was. She was a white woman who was maybe 5'2", and was a thicker type of female who worked out and had a pretty smile. I kept thinking this was a dream as I made my way to the concession stand to order our food. As I approached the stand, I had to wait in line behind a few people who was ordering as well. I then ordered my food and Abby food as well. After paying the guy, I began to walk back to our seats to finish watching the football game. I then got closer and could see Abby sitting in the same spot. She was on the phone, and she did not look happy because she was not smiling or laughing like she was when I was around. But when I was not around Abby, she looked mad and terrified. I just walked up to Abby and tried to stay out of her business. As she hung up, I then gave her food and she smiled at me, and we started to watch the football game. Abby was happy again, but just a minute ago she was not happy. I thought this was weird, but it was not my business, I kept telling myself. As Abby started to ask me questions. "What are you doing later on?" Nothing I could think of while I was up. Abby just looked at me and smiled and said, "I will let you know more after the game," and how she was having a good time. Football game was now over and everyone was beginning to leave the football stadium. As me and Abby followed behind everyone, we then made it to the parking lot, which me and Abby started to talk and what we had planned later on today. As she wanted to come to my place, I said sure because I stayed alone and she would just text me when she got there. She then told me to have a good day and she walked off. I then drove back to my place and Abby began to ask for my address. I started to tell my address. Abby then said okay, that she was on her way right now. I began to clean up and had my place looking nice. And after an hour went by, I could see that Abby texted me again and said, "What's the address again?" thought this was weird as I could see her message again. I then told her the address again. She said okay, she would be there soon. I then got a text from Abby and she said she was here. As I opened my door, I then saw Abby get out the passenger side of the car. I then saw that there was a man in the car as well. It was getting kind of late outside as Abby made her way to my house. I then saw the car drive away and started to ask who was in the car. She told me that was her Uber. That's why it took a while to get here. Abby started to say she was sorry, but she thought if she would have told me that she did not have a car, that would have been a deal breaker. I told Abby that's okay, and we began to talk for an hour. We then began to go to my room to look for a scary movie to watch. As I was looking through the channels, I then saw Abby get a phone call. As she began to answer, her mood changed from happy to instantly mad and scared. As I could see her terrified face she was making and her voice going to shaky, as if she was scared of this person who she was on the phone with. I then went to get something to drink as I could hear that it was a man and he sounded really mad. She then hung up the phone and I asked if everything was okay. She said yeah, she is. That she is sorry for that. I kept telling her to stop apologizing. After me and her began to watch a scary movie for an hour. The movie was now over and Abby was asleep on my shoulders. I then got up and went to lock my door and asked if she wanted to stay the night. As she said yeah, she wanted to go lay in my bed and I went to go with her. We both closed our eyes and went to sleep. The next morning I woke up and could see Abby sleeping. As I let her sleep, I then went to the kitchen to make something to eat. I cooked some eggs for me and Abby, and after I began to sit down and eat, I was making me a cup of orange juice and saw that Abby was awake. She began to come into the kitchen with me and I asked if she was hungry because I had made eggs and bacon for us both and I had milk and orange juice over there. Me and Abby then sat down and ate breakfast together. After an hour, I then heard a car door shut. I looked outside and could see a group of men walking up to my door. I then saw the men banging on my door saying Abby's name and how she needs to come out because I know you're in there and we tracked your location down. I then was confused and told Abby if she knew these people. Abby said yes, she blocked them on everything and that they had been stalking her for a year and how she did not know that they would find her here. I told Abby to call the police. As Abby began to call the police, the man then busted in my door and said, "Where is she?" I was confused but did not want to upset these men because they all had guns, and Abby let the police know and the police were on their way. As men were looking for Abby, I did not know where Abby was, or went, or where she was hiding at. As the men then said, "I will shoot you in the head if you do not tell me where she is." I kept telling the man I do not know. A few minutes went by. Abby was later found and I could see the man pulling her by her hair. I told the man to be easy on her. The man told everyone to shut up, and if anyone tries anything, they would shoot. I then saw the man start to rob my place, taking my wallet, TV, and even some of my pictures and video games. I then told the man, "You don't have to do this, we could talk." The man began to leave as the man got into their car and began to turn it on. The cops then pulled right behind the car. As one of the men got out the car and shot at the cop car, one of the officers was shot. I then heard a group of police sirens as a group of cops were surrounding my house. The men were shooting at the cops and the cops were shooting back. It was a Call of Duty war outside my house, as I was just happy that me and Abby were safe. I then saw one of the men begin to come into my house. As he began to shut the door, he was shot and killed right in front of us. His dead body was just laying there as the cops then arrested the other men and started to ask us questions. I then told the cop everything I knew and Abby did the same. After that, the men were locked up and we have not heard anything or seen any of these guys ever since. And I hope to never see those guys ever again.